What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning into another episode here today. And we're back to normal proceedings. Crown Jewel finished up last week, but we have the main event in Perth, Australia. So we're going to go through the matches that occurred there and also snippets that happened on Raw. And as you know, it's been a week, or less than a week, but almost a week since the crazy news of Seth Rollins breaking up with the Vision. Not by choice, I feel, based on what we're hearing and based on what we're going to see tomorrow. And that is most likely Seth Rollins vacating the title due to a shoulder injury. I think he's gone for surgery there. So, yeah, I think it's premature, but I can see why WWE probably made the decision due to his injury. I have mixed feelings on it because I can understand why they decided to pivot away from it if Seth Rollins is going to continue to be in and out. But I also think it's a great opportunity for the Vision to grow in a storyline where you see Paul Heyman driving Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. And you can still get Bron Breakker to push for the title, which is what they're teasing here with him carrying the belt at the end, which we'll continue to talk about later, by just giving Bron Breakker a win if you want to go crazy while Seth Rollins is gone. And then when Seth Rollins comes back, then you can start creating a storyline where Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed by then have surpassed Seth Rollins' leadership, and he may come back. He would have came back hypothetically into the fold, and Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed would have realized that they didn't need him. And that could have been more compelling. So when I think about that, I think that could have been nice, good storyline to explain. And then I can also think, how long is this going to take? And what were they really planning if Seth Rollins was healthy and available? But I think tomorrow is going to be very interesting how they go about doing it, because we saw how they ruled Fatu off the air on SmackDown with Drew McIntyre attacking him backstage. That's going to get him off TV. All the best for Jacob Fatu, because he has sustained a non-wrestling injury, and that's going to be a big loss there. But yeah, Seth Rollins maybe the same, because you had the Browns attack him, and tomorrow there's going to be a follow-up on that. But yeah, I think that's something that we need to find out. And yeah, I still don't think it was probably the right decision. But again, that's the decision that was made. And now we'll look forward to seeing what happens with the World Heavyweight Championship. And I wouldn't give it to CM Punk on the outright, if I'm honest. I would actually think about potentially finding a way to get it to Bron Breakker. Maybe it might be too early, but definitely getting him involved in that storyline as well. But again, we'll talk to it more towards the end. We will start with the first main event match, and it is the hometown hero, Grayson Waller, taking on Rey Fenix. So I'm a bit upset that Grayson Waller, still thinking about Seth Rollins, didn't get his opportunity for an open challenge US fight against Sami Zayn. Now, obviously Shinsuke was a pleasant surprise, and it was great to see him, of course. And I think the reason why is because they did end up going to Tokyo and they did travel there. I still would have preferred Grayson Waller to have that decision, and be the decision and fight Sami Zayn for the title there. But that didn't happen. He ends up fighting on main event against Rey Fenix, a pretty decent main event. We had Grayson Waller getting the victory in a really unique finishing move that looks really, really good. It's essentially like a famous 360 spin into like a headfirst DDT. It's quite remarkable. He hasn't got a name for it, but I've never actually seen Grayson Waller use this move. But it was a great move, and they obviously give him the win here because he is in his hometown. The fans were going crazy for Grayson Waller, and this begs the question as to why WWE haven't considered to push Grayson Waller further. He obviously has the traits to be a very good heel. He's got a bad attitude. He's very arrogant, and he's really, really good on the mic. So hopefully this sort of match and like the way he's been going lately gives him that sort of push. Like I've said this before, like I'm not saying he can be to the level that Miz was, but he could definitely be a similar type of character in WWE, and they could continue to push him like that maybe winning a mid-card belt and finding ways to win like Dominic Mysterio is doing and like Miz has done before. But I think the best thing that's going to happen for Grayson Waller's character is when Austin Theory returns, and that's if they do a program together. There is a lot of inklings and sort of rumors that he'll be joining the Vision, but that hasn't been confirmed. So if that is completely false, then a program with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory would be fantastic. I think it would push him over the top a bit more. But Grayson Waller's crying for a push in WWE, and he's a great heel, so I don't see why they couldn't do it. But he gets the victory here against Rey Fenix, who is just there to take a loss because of Main Event. I think Rey Fenix will be more than fine. Looks as though he's going to be sort of feuding with the Bloodline. They seem to attack him backstage, but the MFT, sorry, I'm thinking of the Bloodline. This is the Team U Bloodline, the MFT. So who knows what's happening with Rey Fenix. Again, should be pairing up with Penta, in my opinion. Them two should be going for the titles and being a sibling tag team, but that's another story. Grayson Waller gets some momentum here. Hopefully they use that momentum and it's not just a feel-good story for fighting in his hometown. We then move on to some Raw segments. So we have Seth Rollins entering the ring with Paul Heyman and the Bronze as well. And this sort of initiates what we were mentioning before. Basically, Seth Rollins saying that he didn't need Paul Heyman. He did it by himself, which was a blatant lie. He doesn't need Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker. And this is where we all thought that, yeah, this turn's going to happen with this promo. And nothing really too much happened from there. It obviously leads to what happened later on and what we've already spoke about. So we'll just move on to the next segment, and that is the Kabuki Warriors. We had Asuka backstage blaming pretty much Kairi Sane for the loss and slapping her in the face, saying she'll make it up versus Rhea Ripley. So that match occurs, and we do have Rhea Ripley getting the victory here off the back of Asuka and Io Sky battling off the ring and while they're watching. And then in the end we had Ripley about to riptide Asuka through the table, but then Kairi Sane came out with a kendo stick to hit Rhea Ripley, and that's where Asuka performed a move on her on the table. And that pretty much wrapped up that segment, and for me that just goes to show that this feud is far from over. They obviously the faces obviously got the victory at Crown Jewel, but the heels are continuing to run Ravik, and the Kabuki Warriors will continue this feud. I think that the payoff here will be a Io Sky and Asuka 1v1 match or War Games as mentioned. So yeah, that continues to go on. Again, Survivor Series is coming close, and they haven't really teased what's going to happen with War Games. So maybe they're going to start to do that soon. I feel like they need to push that sooner rather than later as well. We then get the second match, and that's between the War Raiders taking on American Made, who, doesn't seem to be doing anything. They can't get any TV time. It feels like Chad Gable was really carrying this group, and he's nowhere to be seen at the moment. Hopefully he comes back soon, because I feel like we're itching for a return of Chad Gable, whether he comes as a Grande Americano or whether he comes as part of American Made. I think American Made need it more than he does, but again, we'll wait for that. The War Raiders get a victory here, and it doesn't really do much for their careers, I don't think. I think they're just going to continue to be part of Main Event and just get these nothing sort of matches as well. Ivy Niles just let her hair go. She hasn't braided it up, which is just an interesting thought as well. She looks really different with her hair down. But that's the only thing she's doing as well, is literally putting her hair down and managing these two, doing nothing on Raw as well. So none of these superstars are doing anything, but at least they're getting some TV time. And yeah, they made the American Made travel all the way to Australia to really do nothing but perform in Main Event. And I didn't see them in Melbourne in the house show that I went to as well. I did see Ivar, which was pretty cool, but yeah, not really sure what the goal is with these tag teams. I think they will just continue to just fight on Main Event as mentioned. We then move on to the Main Event match on Raw, which was the triple threat between CM Punk, between LA Knight, and between Jey Uso to determine the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. And it looks like that's not going to happen now, but CM Punk does win the match, defeating Jey Uso. We had a few stuff that happened outside the ring. Jey Uso putting LA Knight through the stairs and through the post, and then CM Punk coming in and giving a go to sleep, which was the victory that made the most sense. We then have the Vision come out beating up CM Punk, and that was very expected, obviously, after that. And then we had Seth Rollins coming out and looking at CM Punk, flexing his title, and that's where, I guess, the unpredictable happened. If it really was a prediction, unpredictable at this time, especially, we all knew when Seth Rollins pulled that promo, this was going to happen, especially that backstage segment, if you remember, where he said that everything's going good. Braun Breaker spearing Seth Rollins, and then looking at Bronson Reed saying, it's either you're with me or against me. And then that's when Bronson Reed hits the tsunami on Seth Rollins as well. And then we have Paul Heyman, who is in complete shock, but ends up holding and rising the hands of both Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, with Bron Breakker holding the title there as well. So that's how it happened. A turn of events that happened very prematurely. Gives me back to the vibes of Damian Priest, as mentioned, when he turned on Edge with Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. The Vision is no more. Well, no more without Seth Rollins. And yeah, still mixed feelings about it. I think it's still too premature. I mentioned at the start how I could have seen that be a lot better from a booking perspective, where we had Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed sort of take over Raw, showing that they don't need Seth Rollins, and then when he comes in, that's when they betray him. But WWE have gone through another angle now, and tomorrow is going to be a very important Raw episode. The Brons are expected to talk, and we also expect Seth Rollins to relinquish the title. How they do it is what's going to be the most interesting thing. If this is another work, then we'll never be able to believe that Seth Rollins can ever get injured, but I highly doubt it this time. Last time it was very much a work because we didn't hear these inklings and rumors online. We're hearing all of it online at the moment that it's going to happen. And the same people, the same ones that predicted Fatu's injury and his sort of segment out of his time off that he's going to get now to recover. So I think Seth Rollins will do the same. And now it's just a thing where, can you really book Seth Rollins for stuff like this? Because he just keeps getting injured, and it's becoming very frustrating for these storylines, because at the end of the day, there's so much you can get out of this. And if WWE have decided that they want to get out because he's injured, then you can't sit there and really blame them. You've got to look at more of Seth Rollins' durability and health and see whether that is something to be considered, where they can do this again. Because yeah, you don't want to get into something and then Seth Rollins continues to get injured and it just ruins everything. Like, again, I said my opinion. I would have preferred that they continue, but at the same time, an injury or something that happens can affect things, and it clearly did in this case. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the main event review today. Obviously back on normal proceedings until we have Saturday night's main event, which is happening in a few weeks as well. I suppose that will be a match. There'll be a match there to determine the World Heavyweight Champion as well. And yeah, that pretty much, I think, wraps it up. I did end up going to the house show in Melbourne, which was quite awesome. But yeah, just matches there. Nothing that really followed storyline, unfortunately. But again, one day I will do a PLE and we'll watch one. Hopefully they come back to Australia. I think we showed that we can pull off a good atmosphere and a good vibe and a good crowd. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up for me. But again, thank you very much for tuning in today. And I will catch you guys next week. Cheers.